Okay, it is Monday, July 14th, 2025, and today was the day of the California State Assembly Transportation hearing on Senate Bill 712, which we've been working on and we've been following on this channel for quite some time. Of course, this channel started out as trying to get a bill introduced to finally move the year up for the smog exemption in the state of California, which has been stuck at 1976 and newer has to be smogged for 20 years now. So we had this bill, Senate Bill 712, and it was going to exempt up to 35 years old, so 76 to up to 35 years old. Then it was added for you had to have collector plates and collector insurance, but it was 35 years. So now there's new amendments, but with the new amendments, it has passed the Assembly Transportation Committee as of today, and we're going to get to the video here in a minute. It actually passed 9-0, but the amendments are probably ones that a lot of car guys aren't going to be happy about. I'd say pretty much all car guys aren't going to be happy about, so we're going to talk about that. I did discuss them in yesterday's Long Beach video. What it does do now, instead of up to 35 years, when it goes into effect on, if it goes through, if it gets signed by the governor and all that, on January 1st, 2027, it will exempt up to 1980 model year, so 76 to 1980 will be exempted with collector plates and insurance, which they did not put a provision for original issue license plates like blue plates and things like that. It rolls up a year every year, so 1981 will be exempted the following year in 2028, and so on up to 2032, when the 1985 model year will be exempt. If you watch the video, they say 86, but if you read the bill, it says prior to the 1986 model year, which means the 1985 model year. That is a 1986 Suburban. That will not be exempted under this bill. So I know there's a lot of people are, in the same boat I'm at, that they all of a sudden their vehicle's not going to be included in it. Of course, this one also has the original blue license plates, as I'd mentioned in a previous bill. And in the last video we did, we were trying to illustrate how long ago 1976, which was the first year we were trying to exempt, was. We used the example of a Frampton Comes Alive album, which was the top album of 1976. Well, I got an album, or 1976. I have an album from 1986. It may have not been the top album that year, but it was probably one of my favorite albums that year. I had the cassette. I played it to death. I still keep a cassette copy in my Fox body to this day. How long ago was 1986 that the cars aren't going to be exempted? That's right, it is Beastie Boys' License to Ill Old. And that's right, we're going to keep fighting for our right to party. Check it out. This is an original copy. This isn't one of those represses you get at Target. This is original. Check out the Beastie Boys. Love the Beastie Boys. I saw them live twice. So that's how long it's been. That's how long it's going to be. This goes through. It is a step in the right direction. We're not going to be giving up on the fight. We're going to keep fighting for a right to party. Let's jam into the Beastie Boys and all that. So, hopefully they will listen to us, since there are continuing, in fact, even in the presentation, or in the meeting, they even talk about the problems getting pre-OBD2 1995 and older vehicles smog tested, the costs, the equipment going down, the fact that there's a dwindling number of these vehicles out there. They go into all that, but still, this is where we are. So watch this, and you'll see exactly what happened today in Sacramento.
And those that are in each, for those that support the bill and those are in opposition to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. First, I want to sincerely thank you and the committee staff for engaging in meaningful discussions to move the bill forward. We've personally talked and texted on numerous occasions, after hours, early hours in the morning, and you have been really committed to help me move this bill forward, and I just thank you for your leadership on that. Also want to thank the Senate Transportation Chair, Senator Cortese. He's my joint author, and he has just been incredible advocate for this bill. He actually is a classic car owner, and he understands it. And a funny story, it was his mechanic that called and said, call Dave Cortese, and because he owns classic cars. So I thought that was really good that this is a true bipartisan bill. I will be accepting the committee's amendments. I thank you for going again back and forth with the committee amendments, as I didn't understand what was dropped, what was brought forth, and you were very gracious with your time. With these amendments, Senate Bill 712, also known as Leno's Law, will extend a full smog-checked exemption for classic vehicles with model years 1976 to 1986, adding 10 additional years, phased in over a 5-year period with a sunset provision in 2032. Amendments taken in the Senate Appropriations Committee ensure that the exemption only applies to classic and collectible cars requiring collector motor vehicle insurance and registration of a historic license plate through the DMV, and the program is optional, not mandatory. This means that this bill is narrowly tailored to address concerns about self-certification. To qualify for a classic historic motor vehicle insurance, owners must limit the mileage driven each year and maintain a separate daily driving vehicle to ensure compliance. In some cases, additional requirements apply, such as storing the vehicle in a locked garage or behind a locked fence. This is stringent safeguards to ensure that only true classic car vehicles qualify for the insurance and therefore for smog check exemptions. Previously, California had led a 25-year rolling smog check exemption for certain vehicles, which ended in 2005. Leno's Law would have restored that modernization with that exemption, adding an additional 10 years to reflect the passage of time, responding to a long-standing request by car collectors. According to the California DMV, vehicles manufactured between 1976 and 1991 make up only 1% of all the registered vehicles in the state. And the number is considered a true classic car owners is significantly lower than that number. We're talking about less than 1% of the registered vehicles being eligible under the original 35-year exemption. Now, with that exemption has been narrowed to just 10 years, the impact should only be a fraction of that, well under 1% of the vehicles registered in California. My joint author has just joined us, and I'll just briefly tell him I did compliment you very much, sir, for being the Senate Transportation Chair and understanding and helping me with this bill. The unfortunate reality is that many California smog check stations are not equipped with the tools necessary to perform emissions tests for these classic vehicles. There are a lot of smog check stations in all of our districts, but very few of them have this particular piece of equipment that allows the tires to roll and for the instrument to be put up the tailpipe to measure the carbon emissions. After 1995, you just plug it into the dash and it makes things a lot simpler. I can tell you that car enthusiasts across the state have contacted my office to express how difficult it is to find a smog check station with the appropriate equipment to test their vehicles. The intent of Leno's Law is to create less burden for owners of classic cars that are rarely driven and kept in beautiful mint condition. Although Jay Leno couldn't be here today to testify at this hearing, I'm glad that he was a sponsor of this bill and brought it to my attention when I went down on a tour of his garage. These cars are rolling pieces of history. They're rich in culture, craftsmanship, and meaning, and they deserve to be preserved for generations to come. In many cases, classic car vehicles are sold out of state due to the stringent smog check requirements, specifically on the time of transfer, and meaning that California doesn't receive the economic benefits for that. This, to put it in perspective, the specialty automotive equipment aftermarket industry contributes $40 billion of economic activity through California, and we benefit from about 150,000 jobs throughout our state, and $6.16 billion in tax revenue is tied to this sector. It extends to tire shops, paint shops, upholstery shops. There was a lowrider candy apple red Impala that was next to us bouncing down the road at the parade that we had, and they had invested a lot of time and money into just the specialty diamond tucked interior. Enthusiasts modified their cars to lowriders and gave them elaborate color paint jobs. This is a cultural thing. Just recently, in the past few years, the governor signed a bill legalizing cruising again for lowrider clubs. SB 712 builds on that commitment to ensure that individuals, regardless of background, can participate in car culture and enjoy the right to preserve their vehicles. My hope is that when I introduce Leno's law, was to provide a full exemption for vehicles 35 years or older and upon transfer. I've heard from many car enthusiasts across the state about the concern for changing out their original plates, and they didn't want to, they want to use their original plates and the in-stock plates and not the DMV plates. But I know that they know this program is optional, only available to them as an option to be able to get the smog exemption. But I also know that SB 712 remains a meaningful step forward for collector car enthusiasts. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to advance this bill today and secure your vote. Respectfully ask for an aye vote, and I think I'm just going to turn it over to my principal joint author.
I'm proud to be a joint author of the bill, and I just want to thank, I happen to know firsthand how much work the chair and the committee have done on this bill, and I just want to thank everyone involved for getting it to this point, and I'll stop there and turn it over to the witnesses.
Thank you. With me here to testify today, Madam Chair, is Francine Mata. She is the president of Sacramento's Lowrider Commission, along with the California Lowrider Alliance. She helped author the support of Alvarez in passing in AB 436, which repealed the city and county no cruising ordinances, and also Victor Munoz, representing the Specialty Equipment Market Association, SEMA, who represents about 7,000 small businesses nationwide.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Thank you, Shannon Grove. My name is Francine Mata. I'm honored to stand before you today as the president of the Sacramento Lowrider Commission, as well as the California Lowrider Alliance. The SLC is a nonprofit organization proudly rooted in the preservation, education, and celebration of our lowrider culture and lifestyle. I'm here in strong support of Senate Bill 712, also known as Leno's Law, because this bill represents far more than change in smog check requirements. It's about preserving culture, protecting history, and promoting equity for collectors, communities, and California's rich car culture. Lowriding has always been more than just cars. It's art on wheels. It's a rolling expression of heritage, identity, and creativity. It brings together our families, our generations, and our neighborhoods. It builds community, it sparks joy, and yes, it heals. Even during the pandemic, we saw how lowriding brought people peace and purpose. That's how culture started. Research shows cultural connection improves your mental health. As for many of us, cruising is our therapy. However, many lowrider and classic car owners have a very difficult time finding smog stations that have the correct equipment and will do it for a reasonable price. Because maintaining the Bar 97 emissions equipment required to test these older cars is costly and it's rarely used. This leaves us with an inability to get our vehicles smogged, ensuring we are compliant with state law. SB 12 offers a practical and cultural aware solution exempting collector cars from California's smog check program. These vehicles are not just daily drivers, they are rarely used, carefully maintained, and deeply loved for our cultural and historic value. This is the first time in over 20 years that California is expanding the smog exemption beyond 1976, making this a historic win for car enthusiasts and communities who have long been overlooked. While the current language does not include everything that our community has hoped for, it is meaningful progress that moves us in the right direction.
And I'll have to have you wrap up.
It provides overdue to owners. Well, I'll just skip to this, that lowriders aren't just a tradition, they're an economic engine. Here in Sacramento, our community hosts over 80 to 100 events a year. That's more than 1,500 hours of community service. It brings...
And I'll have to have you stop.
Okay. Thank you so much, and respectfully ask for your support.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Munoz.
Well, thank you so much, Chair and members. My name is Victor Munoz with the Specialty Equipment Market Association. I'll make my comments brief. I'm here for technical support and just briefly mention that SEMA represents over 7,500 companies nationwide with 1,500 here in California, and our members employ the 150,000 that the Senator Grove was mentioning, and that fuels the $40 billion aftermarket economy here in the state. And the author's office has worked with the Senate to ensure safeguards for this practice, and SEMA believes that this version of the bill improves on current law and ensures future generations have access to car culture without unnecessary barriers. And so on behalf of SEMA and our members and the next generation of car enthusiasts, I respectfully urge your support of SB712 and here for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Now moving on, members of the public who are present who would like to add on their support, name, affiliation, and position, please.
Thank you, Chair and members. Ryan Perini on behalf of the California Automotive Wholesalers Association in support. Thank you.
Joseph McMeans, random car enthusiast, in support.
Madam Chair, members, Andrew Antwi here today on behalf of San Joaquin County Supervisor Robert Rickman and San Joaquin Supervisor Mario Gardia, in support.
Jerry Thompson, Modesto, Cruisers Culture of Modesto. I'm also a member of California Lowrider Alliance in support of SB712.
Thank you. Now moving on to members of the public in opposition. We do have two witnesses who are in opposition. And so if we can maybe flip so where there's two seats together, however you want to just move, multiple people move down. Oh, wait. Okay, you can, they're putting you in the middle, center seat. Okay. Yeah, just make sure you press the mic button. And as a reminder, you have, we did go a little long on one, but short on the other. So 2 minutes and 15 seconds, so please.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's very gracious. I don't want to take the spot of a senator, but here I am. Brendan Tuig on behalf of the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, which are the air pollution control officers from all 35 local air districts. And we are respectfully opposed to the amended version of the bill. Air districts don't administer the smog check program, but we're supporters because it's an equitable way of achieving emissions reductions essential to meeting federal health-based attainment standards. And while we appreciate California's rich automotive history and heritage, unfortunately, this bill will substantially increase air pollution and harm public health. So whether a car as a collector is largely self-defined, and this bill allows 10 years of cars an exemption from the smog check program as long as the owner has collector car insurance and also self-certifies to the DMV that it is a historic vehicle and they get the specialty plate. So the numbers of vehicles exempted could be significant. Hagerty, which is one of the large insurers of collector car insurance, says that there are 43 million cars in the United States that meet their criteria of a collector. In fact, the collector car insurance, we see with that, there's very little accountability. The accountability system here is the smog check program. And also the mileage restrictions, like for Hagerty, are 7,500 miles a year. So that's relatively high. I would point out that under the smog check program, cars don't have to meet the same emission standards as when they were new, or even the same standards or today's new cars, or even when they were new, because the program takes into consideration the expected deterioration of the emissions control equipment. CARB data shows us that a 1982 passenger vehicle that actually passes the smog check program emits 123 times the NOx emissions of a 2025 car. And so if you play that out and you look at the, like, operating under the mileage limits for Hagerty at 7,500 miles,
have you wrap up?
Yes, that's 922,500 miles. So I will just say it's important that cars go to smog because otherwise the equipment can be tampered with. And at a time when the federal government is rolling back on clean air, now is not the time, I think, to impose something self-inflicted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Chair, members. Mariela Racho. The American Lung Association remains in strong opposition to this bill. Our state remains home to some of the most difficult air pollution challenges in the United States, according to the American Lung Association State of the Air Report, which we release annually. The transportation sector is responsible for approximately 80% of smog-forming emissions and approximately half of the climate-forcing greenhouse gases, meaning Californians depend on smog checks and other effective clean air programs to maintain strong progress towards healthier air. Breathing unhealthy air can trigger asthma attacks, heart attacks, stroke, developmental impacts on children, impacts on pregnancy, and premature death. The Health Effects Institute recent review of hundreds of peer-reviewed studies concluded that transportation-related pollution is associated with premature deaths due to heart attacks, lung cancer death, onset asthma in children and adults, respiratory infections in children, and other health emergencies. This is why California's smog check program for light-duty vehicles is so important, and why we oppose expanding exemptions as proposed by SB 712. The program benefits the health of the public by ensuring motor vehicles, older and newer, operate within acceptable standards and maintain functional pollution controls. While the federal government is working to strike clean air and healthcare protections, we cannot afford to willingly let more pollution into our air. So we ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to members of the public who would like to add on their testimony in opposition. Please come to the mic and note name, affiliation, and position. Thank you.
Alan Ebbs with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District in strong opposition.
Chris Chavez with Coalition for Clean Air in opposition.
Good afternoon, Jacob Evans with Sierra California in opposition.
Rebecca Marcus on behalf of the Union of Concerned Scientists in opposition.
Ana Gonzalez, representing the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, San Bernardino, Riverside Counties, in opposition.
Edie Schwaggart, Sacramento Area Bicycle Advocates, in strong opposition.
Ron Brazel, Meadowview Urban Tree Project, in opposition.
Jeannie Wardweller, representing Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC, in opposition.
Luca Davis on behalf of the Sacramento Area Bicycle Advocates in strong opposition.
Jeremiah Rohr, Breathing Citizen, opposed.
Melissa Romero, California Environmental Voters, in opposition.
Thank you. Now bringing it back to committee, was just confirming we still do not have a quorum, but so we are operating as a subcommittee. I wanted to give an opportunity for members of our committee to make any comments or if they have any questions. Seeing none. Oh, wait. Our Vice Chair, Davies.
Thank you, Senator and Senator, for bringing the bill forward. I can tell you that in San Diego area and Orange County, this is, to me, one of the incredible things with classic cars is it brings families together. There isn't a weekend that doesn't go by that we don't have some type of event where generations are learning the beauty and enjoying this. And I also just want to make a point that these are a lot of times just recreational cars. They're not driven on the road every single day. If you take a look at this, what kind of condition they're in, you know that they come up perhaps sometimes for parades or for an event. But if you look at the time they're actually driving compared to all of us that are out there driving our vehicles, the emissions are not that high. So I like this bill and like to support it. Thank you.
Lackey?
Yeah, I'm going to hold my tongue because I think the opposition is very extreme, and they've indicated that if you're not environmentally pure, you're unacceptable. That's really what is being stated here and we have to look at the benefits. What the argument does not negate the benefits that are achieved. There's financial benefits, there's relationship. I mean, we see the cultural benefits. There are all sorts of other benefits that just get totally dismissed. I think that's unfair. And I think you're to be commended for bringing this bill forward because it's reasonable. So I appreciate your thought process, and if I'm not a co-author, I certainly would like to be. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, I'll note I appreciate all the robust conversation, as the senator noted, that we had along with the chair, my counterpart in the Senate. We talked quite a bit about this bill and trying to strike a balance, recognizing the impact, potential impact to the air, as was noted from opposition. And generally, we do have to focus on making sure we have clean air for folks. And part of that is through our smog program. But also recognizing that there is this small number of vehicles typically who should be able to take advantage of an exemption like a 1976 or prior. I think we found a good balance to be able to do that. We also sunsetted it. So there is another point for the legislature to consider the impact, the number of vehicles that actually it applied to. And whether it's something to continue or what else can be done. And so that was important to me. And so with that, at the appropriate time, I will be supporting the bill and look forward to the continued discussion on this. And we might just have a quorum. So hold on one second. Do we do? Yes. Okay, we do have a quorum. So if you want to wait, we can take action on your bill once we establish that quorum. While we're getting things settled, I'd like to note we do have a witness that has to leave and catch a flight. So once we dispense with this bill, we're going to move to file item number 16, SB800, Reyes, which will be presented by Senator Richardson. And then once that bill is dispensed with, we'll go back to file item order. With that, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Wilson.
Aye.
Wilson, aye. Davies. Aye. Davies, aye. Aguiar Curry. Aaron's. Aaron's, aye. Carrillo. Karabedian. Hart. Hart, aye. Hoover.
I'll pause you for a second. I should have said here and not I. I started off. We are saying that we are here. And
Appreciate
so I
your
am here.
enthusiasm, Madam Chair.
Okay. Hoover. Jackson. Jackson here. Lackey.
Here.
Lackey here. Lowenthal. Lowenthal here. Macedo. Pappen. Pappen here. Ransom. Rogers. Rogers here. Ward.
All right, we've established a quorum. We are currently hearing Senate Bill 712, item number 12 by Senator Grove. We did have members step in, and so before I ask for a motion, I wanted to make sure that no members who just arrived wanted to comment on this bill or have any questions. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved by Lackey, seconded by Davies. Madam Secretary, I'll give it to the author. Would you like to, either author, would you like to close?
Yes, it's either author. I do want to defer to Senator Grove in a moment here because this bill was a bipartisan bill from the moment she started to talk to people actually on the floor, which is Senator Grove's oftentimes her way of getting to the point of consensus on things like this. And I was an early supporter of this bill, not just as Senate Transportation Chair, as were several other members of the Senate on both sides of the aisle. And I think it's because there was a tremendous amount of faith from the beginning that this issue, which is to some degree a series of nuanced issues around what happens with 76 and newer vehicles that are just where people are just stuck between a rock and a hard place in terms of even achieving a smog test or a smog check or the actual certificate. I think there was a feeling right through committee, right through a very strong floor vote in the Senate that that this bill would progress to the point of reaching that equilibrium, Madam Chair, that you were just talking about. And again, I just want to thank you and thank the committee staff for sticking with it. It's a tough bill. It was a little bit of a tricky bill to thread the needle, as we say sometimes. And And I think that's been done here, and I would respectfully urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, thank you again for working with me on the committee amendments. Like I said, in my comments that we went for a 35-year rollover to cover that entire gap of cars that were covered, but moving the bill forward with a 10-year extension on this with, 5 years in it incrementally, but 5 years and additional immediately is really a compromise that I think is good for a car enthusiast and those that are exploring cultural history. And I do think that even with the opposition, we did address those issues. I worked very well with the chair, who is a car enthusiast himself. We didn't affect Vehicle Code 279, which already outlines that a collector vehicle is, quote, a collector vehicle, meaning the vehicle owned by a collector is defined by subdivision A. Section 5051 and the Motor Vehicle Code is used. The motor vehicle is primarily used for shows, parades, charitable functions, and historical exhibitions on display, maintenance, and preservation, and is not used for primary transportation. And again, on the issue on the carbon and NOx or the NOx emissions, it is true that older cars had higher NOx emissions, but the numbers that were thrown out and the numbers in the analysis, just to point out, it would be equivalent to driving one of these old cars 369,000 miles a year or total, and they're not going to do that. These cars are incredibly restored, and they're a work of art, and I just respectfully ask for an aye vote, and thank you for your help on this bill.
Thank you. Now moving to roll call. Madam Secretary.
SB 712 by Grove. The motion is due pass as amended to the Committee on Appropriations. Wilson?
Aye.
Wilson, aye. Davies? Aye. Davies, aye. Aguiar Curry? Aaron's? Aaron's, aye. Carrillo? Carrillo, aye. Harabedian? Hart? Hart, aye. Hoover? Jackson? Jackson, aye. Lackey? Lackey, aye. Lowenthal? Lowenthal, aye. Macedo? Pappen? Pappen, not voting. Ransom? Rogers? Rogers, aye. Ward?
We have 9 votes. We'll hold the roll open for members to add on.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
All right, so that's the hearing. As always, I'm going to be bringing you more information on this bill. I do believe it will go through the way it is now. I realize not everybody's happy about that. The group isn't going anywhere. Californians for Classic Car Smog Exemptions. I'm not going anywhere. Well, maybe in the Suburban a little later on to get some food, but maybe to the store. But yeah, this is what we got. This is what we're working with. We're going to continue to fight on in the future to get some of these more of these vehicles exempted. Obviously, I would like to see more and more vehicles saved. That's kind of what this channel is about. I film car shows, things like that. So make sure you join the group, Californians for Classic Car Smog Exemptions. Subscribe to this channel as I bring you information as we get it. Also, make sure you leave some comments. Be a little nice. I realize people aren't happy right now. I'm not exactly happy right now. It took me like an entire day just to make a post in the group about the amendments yesterday. So I really wasn't in a good spot yesterday until the end of the day after talking to some friends and thinking things over. We're going to keep working with it. Senator Grove and Senator Cortese have been doing a great job negotiating on our behalf, trying to make some things happen. So let's just keep seeing what we can do. And like I said, we will live to fight on another day. So until next time, I'll be seeing you.